Hello, hello. Hope you guys doing fantastic today. Once again, after a pretty long break, but I've been, going slow when it comes to PoE 2 recently. I'm saving my energy for PoE 1, which is tomorrow we have like grand reveal, which I'm definitely going to be streaming that. But this is going to be like a big guide for WoodSolid. I promised you guys that I'm going to do this video, and here I am. We're going to go over everything in this video: gems, items, passive tree, you know, my overall thoughts, the basic full build guide videos. So let's jump into it. Let's jump into it immediately because I'm going to try to make this a little bit shorter than usual. Usually I have my guides are about an hour full guides. Hopefully this one's gonna be like 40 minutes or something like this. Let's do a DK bacon. let's do like a showcase map. This is a map with like I don't know some cold damage or something like that. Nothing too special. And yeah, the WoodSolid. I'm very satisfied. You know, my overall feelings on the build. Just like some people also haven't seen my previous videos, so I'm going to give you an introduction. It's a totem build. We use shockwave totems in order to clear maps, and we use ancestral warrior totems. Ancestral warrior totems in order to kill bosses. The damage is very high. The tankiness, in my opinion, it's nothing too special, as you saw right there. I don't even know what that was because I think my graphic card is still not loading the enemies, but we're gonna fix that problem in the future for the next league. But tankiness, of course, you could play with a shield. It wouldn't be a big deal. The damage would still be decent enough. Of course, it will be a little bit lower, but for extra tankiness, if you don't want to even like look at the screen while you're playing, and you want to have like full chill gameplay, then you could use a shield and do like a shield variation. Basically, you would like equip a shield with as much block as possible, and then spec into like 5 or 6 block nodes, and pretty much you're block capped. It's ridiculous how easy it is to get block capped on Titan, right? Because he has increased effectiveness of small nodes. Therefore, getting block. I mean, generally speaking, it's ridiculously easy to get block capped in this game, right? Because shields roll. If you want to get like a good roll, then you can get up to 45, I believe, percent block chance on a shield. If you want to get even more than that, then you can buy a corrupted one, which is not going to be like super cheap, but nothing too crazy, right? And these roll almost up to, I believe, 48 or 49, maybe even 50 block chance, 50% block chance you can get on a shield like that. I'm not sure how much exactly this is, but can get a lot. I'm gonna drop this delirium actually because more or less you see how it goes, and I'm really dropping frames big time. So I'm just gonna drop that. A ritual, sure, whatever, let's do it. Rituals are very chill to do this build because you just place your totems and you just walk in circles. Very easy. Never really had any difficulties whatsoever. Now that I think about it, I haven't done Simulacrum with this build. And I bet that it could do it pretty easy, especially with the shield variant. Because you just place totems and you just run around. I think this would work pretty well. But I haven't tested it actually, so I don't think I will. I think it's going to work pretty well, but I don't think I will at this point. So yeah, the damage, very nice. The single target damage, which I believe many totem builds is something that you would struggle with typically in this patch, because totems used to be much stronger in the previous patch in 0.1. In 0.2, totems deal much less damage, but this build still kills pinnacle bosses in 3-4 seconds. The previous video I killed Zesh in like about 7 seconds because he got pushed. I got really unlucky fight, but I kill pinnacle bosses like extremely fast. And the same for obviously for regular bosses. The regular bosses literally get exploded, including Citadel bosses. So the damage, single target damage, I designed this build in a way that the single target is also going to be very nice, and you don't really need to worry about struggling with damage or anything like that. The best part about this is that the damage is very substantial, and on top of that, the weapons should be more or less, not more or less, the weapons should be very easy to get, very cheap to get, because the only stat, well, there's 2 stats what we care about, plus to skills and elemental damage with attacks, and that's it. We don't care about any other stats. On top of that, you'll have to pay a little bit because you'll have to get the skill speed runes, which I think are going to be by far the best. There's nothing that even comes close, because the skill speed runes will give you attack speed and totem placement speed at the same time, because it gives you skill speed, so it's going to work like that. But yeah, weapons, nothing too special, right? I'll be honest, like the vast majority of my gear is the gear from the previous characters. Vast majority. I bought maybe like a one piece equipment or something like that. So I didn't really buy much. Many of these, well, I wouldn't say that they're unoptimized, because more or less I've been doing, decent job, like optimizing this build and buying appropriate gear. That being said, that there's definitely room for improvement, because like one of my rings is like literally like 100 exalt ring that I bought for, I believe, the ice bringer. So I wasn't even I wasn't like looking for many upgrades since then, I will admit. Alright, so we're just going to clear this map. As you can see, it's pretty chill. It's a map with like 1 damage mod, and it's not too many problems so far. I die very rarely on this build, even without the shield. I've been running only with two-handed weapons, no shield whatsoever, and I died like maybe once. I believe since level 80 something, I died once, because I got one shot. So against bosses, here we have a boss. You drop your totems, you drop solar orb, you drop the curse, and the boss goes bye-bye, right? The best part about this is that on the weapon set number 2, I have about double damage, but I don't even swap anymore because they die too fast. So I don't even care. I just go like this, right? And the bosses go bye-bye. One thing you could do, of course, against bosses if you want, for example, if your budget is extremely low, is you can find yourself a pet. And I have this pet that has I don't have its modifier. Oh, there it is. Never mind, I do have its modifiers over here. It's all damage shocks. This basically means that every time this monster will attack the boss, they will get shocked. So that's 20% more damage taken for the boss. With this support on top of that, that's another 50% increased magnitude of shocks inflicted with supported skills. That's going to bring it to 30% from 20. So that basically is 30% more damage against bosses if you want to use that. During mapping, you might call me crazy. I actually don't use it because I kind of don't like it, for the reason that look, if I had a pet with like haste aura and shock at the same time, then I would definitely be using it, right? Because come on, it's haste aura. But I don't even. Sometimes it pisses me off because I don't even know if this pet is mine or if this is actually an enemy. So sometimes it's hard to tell. So like while mapping, like I don't even use it because I decided that I'm so strong that I don't need that extra damage. Everything dies like so fast. Even rare monsters die very quickly. And of course, the cool thing about this build is that if you want to do better against rare monsters, for example, very low budget again, then you just drop this totem instead. You drop Ancestral Warrior totem, and rare monster gets one shot, right? Just literally gets one shot. So if your damage is still not up there, then against rare monsters you can just drop one totem instead and just continue on on going on. So yeah, pretty happy with the build. If I wanted to give you my, actually I'm going to talk about that at the end, because there's this popular topic: how will I rate my builds? And it's this very hard question usually, but I'm going to try to more or less answer it towards the end of the video, what I feel about my builds, and this is going to be like my opinion on all of my builds, and how they excuse me compare towards each other. So let's jump right into, I guess. Okay, I'm just going to talk really quick about leveling. Leveling one more time. It's basically the same. I'm just going to make it literally like a 30-second section. Leveling, I think nothing beats a Leap Slam into Bone Shatter for warriors. During campaign and after campaign, until level like something like, I don't know, 70 or 80 or something like that. Nothing beats that. This is just the best. This is the best for low budget characters, and this is the best for high budget characters. Actually, for high budget characters, I guess Icebringer could just instantly spec into Herald of Ice or something like that. But that being said, Bone Shatter is so strong, and Leap Slam, and the fact that we have Brink support that prevents enemies from being fully stunned, which makes the Bone Shatter combo always work. It's just like the best way to level up in this game for warriors. Period. Nobody came up with anything better, and I'm also not going to try to make myself a Harry Potter, like a magician, and come up with something else that doesn't exist. Bone Shatter for leveling, period. And every previous character was doing the same thing. I'm just not going to repeat it again. I literally have the full video on. I believe this video is called "How to Build Your Own Will Smith," and everything is in this video. So I'm just not going to repeat myself again because it's just going to be a waste of time. Let's jump into skill gems. So I'm gonna skip Mace Strike. So Shockwave Totem, our clearing ability. Shockwave Totem scales with levels. This is why on both of your weapons you want to have +7 to melee skills, and you absolutely do not care about the physical or lightning or elemental damage that you have on your weapons, because these totems hit with their own weapons. And the higher the level of the totem, the higher the physical damage of the weapon of this totem is going to be. That's why we absolutely do not care about the damage on the weapons. We only care about +7 to all melee skills and increased elemental damage with attacks. That's it. There are no other useful stats apart from, like, you know, if you're gonna get strength or something like this. And of course, another thing that is useful is you don't really need that much strength on this build, because for totems, you don't care about damage on your weapon, so you can buy like a lower base mace, or you can buy a mace that will have reduced attribute requirements. Both options are viable. So, Shockwave Totem with Magnified Effect and Reach, both of the AoE nodes, AoE gems for Warrior, both are absolutely fantastic. I feel like, you know, this is kind of like an unsung hero of this patch for Warriors, because if they didn't add something like Reach, I feel like the Warrior would not be as fun this patch as it is. Seriously, like, since majority of my builds are Resolute Technique, it's very point efficient that you never have to worry about accuracy whatsoever. And, you know, we're not doing crit usually anyway. I know that crit is strong, but usually we don't do that anyway. Doing reach in these circumstances is absolutely fantastic, because 35% more area of effect is huge. That's absolutely huge. And of course, this is 35 and another 30 from Magnified Effect. This is absolutely huge, and this combo is absolutely intoxicating. It's crazy how good it is for the clearing abilities. And then Martial Tempo. The totem is going to attack a little bit faster. Your totems will inherit your attack speed. Of course, Martial Tempo is a little bit different because it's a support gem, but all the attack speed, all that skill speed you have on your weapons, your totem is going to inherit. Do not confuse it with increased attack speed that is local on the weapon. If you're going to have increased attack speed on your weapon, that's not going to work. If you're going to have +7 to melee skills, let's just say gain 43 mana per enemy killed, and instead of that 7% leech, you're going to have 20% increased attack speed, that's not going to work. That's going to increase the speed of your weapon. That's going to make you leap slam faster. That is not going to increase the speed at which totems will release shockwaves. So, something to keep in mind. And of course, the same for this. But the generic attack speed nodes, like on the tree or the skill speed runes or just increased attack speed, that is going to work. So, something to keep in mind. Then Elemental Focus, I think it's a good support gem. You know, the totems do not hit that hard, the Shockwave totems. So, not being able to inflict Ignite, I don't think it's a big deal here. So, that's just basically 25% more damage and another 25% more damage from Fire Infusion. Basically, very, very nice. And this is a combo that allows you to... This is one of the reasons why I think that Avatar of Fire is better basically compared to almost any physical build. Because going elemental instead of physical is just better in this game. It's literally better. You have more access to damage options on the tree. You have more access to support gems, very high damage support gems. You have access to elemental damage with attacks and weapons, which is crazy strong. It's just really good. Like guys, like I'm sorry, but like I saw videos, people calling Avatar of Fire bait or something like that. They just don't know what they're talking about. And it's funny because the Codulets, he's also making videos on YouTube, by the way. That is on my chat very often. Is like, you know, flames like a non-Avatar of Fire builds pretty often, because he also claims that Avatar of Fire is just like the best, period. The pure physical builds don't even come close compared to how much damage you're gonna do with Avatar of Fire. So it's just, it is what it is. Next up, Leap Slam. We're going to do Holy Descent, Cadence for more attack speed, and the last one. I'm sorry, but I wasn't even thinking like for too long what I would put in there. Which is my bad. There is nothing that really matters that much. As long as you have Holy Descent and this increased attack speed a little bit, because, you know, we can't use Martial Temple for more attack speed, then I guess it's fine. But yeah, I mean, what could what could you put there? Like Overpower for more stun build up? I guess you could do that. If you're gonna Leap Slam into Pack of Monsters, then it's going to be a little bit better. I mean, for the shits and giggles, I guess I'm just going to put Overpower in here, because when it looks empty, this does not look good. So more stun build up from Overpower, boom. And I mean, that's always something, right? If you're gonna Leap Slam into a pack of monsters that start charging you from the opposing screen, then there's a very good chance that you're gonna stun them, because it's a very high level of Leap Slam. This Leap Slam, actually say whatever you want, is still killing white monsters in a single hit, which is, which kind of shows how balanced Leap Slam is, really, this patch. Another thing is that the 130% more stun build up, and on top of that, this 50% more stun build up, and you're absolutely guaranteed that you're gonna stun monsters with this thing. So, Leap Slam, I mean, like, if I had an option, probably every single build that I had this league would be a Leap Slam build, but, you know, I had to be a little bit more creative than that, I guess. Next up, we have Ancestral Warrior Totem. As you can see, we have two, but, you know, I'm gonna get to that point. This is actually not even mandatory. Anyway, Ancestral Warrior Totem, it works similarly to Shockwave Totem, with one small exception. On Shockwave Totem, the supports do not count as attacks. Excuse me, the Shockwave Totem is not, like, on paper an attack, right? So this is going to be an attack, but this is not an attack. Why does it make a difference? Is because, for example, more weapon elemental damage, this primal armament support, is not going to work on Shockwave Totem. I'm going to prove it. I'm going to drop this. The slam right now is, let's just say, you know, average is 11,000, right? With this, it's going to be still 11,000. It doesn't work. But this thing is going to work, right? It's 14.2. So, the Shockwave Totem, some of the things that you're going to use actually do not work on Shockwave Totem. That includes also some passive skills. Like, for example, I don't know if I will be able to, like, say right now what exactly that is. I think I think that in 15% increased attack damage nodes do not work. I'm just gonna check real fast, like literally real fast, just to make sure that I'm not full of it. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to spec out of this, and right now the totem damage is 13.8, and I'm going to increase this 15% attack damage. Excuse me, and okay, so this worked. This worked, actually. So there were some nodes that actually did not work on Shockwave Totem. I'm not sure. I can't put my finger exactly on what this was right now. That being said, the tree, don't worry about it. The tree is optimized because I was testing as I was going, you know, through the different passives and stuff like that. So the tree is optimized. That being said, there's like this small difference compared to Ancestral Warrior Totem. So something to keep in mind. And we use Rolling Slam for the main damaging ability. In my opinion, is the best. Sunder does way less damage than Rolling Slam, because with Sunder you can't really, you know, fully utilize its guaranteed crit ability on totems, because you have 3 totems, and on top of that you have to fully break enemies' armor, so that's going to be a pain in the ass. So Rolling Slam, I think, is the highest damaging ability that you can come up with, really. And I use Execute, 50% more damage with hits against enemies that are on low life. You know, Deepest Tower, simple enough. Conk Effect, 30%, because we don't care about that less area of effect that much. on weapon set number 2. But generally speaking, this is a great support. Then Immolate, which is fantastic because supported skills cannot ignite. That doesn't really matter that much in my opinion. The ignites will not be impressive because you have 3 totems and every single one of them do not hit that hard. It's not One Punch Titan, or like One Punch Totem, I guess. It's you have 3, arguably 4 of them, so they will not do that much damage with ignite. Therefore, I completely decided to skip the ignite scaling whatsoever and use Immolate for basically 30% more damage. This is really good compared to like a warrior build where you actually use your own abilities and you use abilities yourself to kill enemies, because on builds like that you can use Infernal Cry. On totem builds you can't, so this 30% of damage as extra fire damage is actually very effective. This is literally 30% more damage, right? This is really strong, amazing support for a build like this. And once again, one more reason why Avatar of Fire is so good. And then Primal Armament, 25% more weapon elemental damage, which will work on Ancestral Warrior Totem. Here we have the first slam is going to be average damage about 95,000, then 75. So it works perfectly fine. So why do I use 2? This is optional. There's going to be another optional thing in this build, but this is what I used to reach absolutely. I mean, I think from all the totem builds in 0.2 I saw, I think this one was doing the highest amount of damage. I could be wrong, but I think I made like the highest damage totem build. But you know, I'm not saying that. I guarantee that because I don't want to brag, you know, before someone verifies me. But what I'm using here is normal. You can have 3 totems, right? You can have 3 totems max. But how you can skip this limit is by putting another totem in another skill slot and using Overabundance, because Overabundance will give you supported skills have +1 to limit, which is really good. But that's only really something like cosmetic, I would say, if you want to like truly maximize your single target damage. If you're like a boss farmer, then you know having 1 extra totem always is going to be nice. But while mapping, and I don't use that ever apart from pinnacle bosses, because this is just like unnecessary. On top of that, they will have 50% less skill effect duration, so this totem is going to drop down pretty fast. As you're going to see, it's going to last like about 4 seconds and it's gone. 4 or 5 seconds, something like this. So this is what you can do to exceed that limit of 3 totems. And I have Greatwood, which actually is going to work, which is kind of nice combo, because supported skills can only have one active totem, which they will have one active totem anyway, because you know we have 3 and this is the 4th. But this totem limit instead grants more area of effect, more totem damage, and more totem life. This all works. So basically your totem limit with this skill is 4, therefore this will give you maximum benefits of Greatwood. So 20% more area, 40% more damage, and 40% more life, which is really cool. On top of that, we still have some supports left over to increase our damage, so I'm using Close Combat and Physical Mastery. I maybe there's something else that I could use still here, but I just dropped Physical Mastery here. I couldn't find anything that would increase my damage even further, but this is something you can do. And basically how it works is you drop 3 of your totems, of your ancestral totems, and then you drop the 4th one on your W, for example, or you know whatever you're gonna put this skill. You drop all 4 at the same time. You're golden. Very nice. Once again, this is something that I would only do against pinnacle bosses because the damage is an overkill, big time overkill for the regular content anyway. So next up, we have Solar Orb, absolutely mandatory because Solar Orb gives us Font of Rage, which will generate Rage, which is going to benefit your totems, by the way. So 30 Rage with Berserk is going to be about 50% more damage, which is absolutely insane. This is also something we use against pinnacle bosses. Against regular bosses, not even mandatory. They're gonna die too fast anyway. But Strip Away with increased effect of exposure, Font of Blood for regeneration, which is very nice, and Fire Exposure. Basically, this always works. This is a really nice combo with Immolate also, because your totems will not inflict Ignite, but Solar Orb always will. as long as you put it on top of the boss. This will inflict exposure for and ignite enemies. So your Ancestral Warrior Totem will benefit from Immolate. So this is a very nice combo. And yeah, 24% penetration basically, with a combination of rage generation and life regeneration at the same time. Absolutely amazing. One thing I haven't mentioned is that this is a regeneration build. We're using a lot of regeneration to offset the very high costs of totems, right? The totems, if you're going to spam, as you can see, my HP starts going down. If you're only spam, but usually I just don't spam them. I just like drop one, move a little bit, drop one, move a little bit, drop one, move a little bit. And this way my HP is always full. But we're stacking decent amount of regeneration. And as you're going to see with Solar Orb, I have plus 1% extra regeneration when I'm next to the totem. But with Solar Orb, my regeneration goes up to 960. Because we have the regeneration from Font of Blood. Then I'm going to drop a totem. It goes up to 1,000. I'm going to use Leap Slam. It goes up to 1,500 almost. It's 1,500 basically. That is a lot of regeneration for, I'll be honest, how little I invested into regeneration. So all these supports and effects that increase your regeneration, they do add up. Because you can really get some very nasty amount of regeneration overall. Next up we have Flammability. There's not much to talk about here, especially that we're already almost 27 minutes in, so I'm just gonna go over that quickly. More magnitude, more cast speed, and more skill effect duration. Basically, that's it. That's literally it, right? You use that against pinnacle bosses or regular bosses to drop their fire resistance. That's it. Period. Very simple. And then Berserk. We only use this. This is only really useful for this build against pinnacle bosses. If you really wanted to, you could like even put something else there, but I'm not sure what. And I use Vitality for 1% regen per second. That's still self-explanatory, right? There is not much better that you can put here. Of course, there is Herbalism that increases your life recovery from flasks, but we do not have enough spirit for it. That being said, there is one thing you can do, and we're going to talk about this right now. So this is optional. This Companion Dire Tusk, Boar, or whatever it's going to be, this is optional. I use it, as I mentioned, while we were killing the boss. I use it against pinnacle bosses for guaranteed 30% shock. So this is basically guaranteed 30% more damage, which is a very nice bonus. Don't get me wrong. For this amount of spirit, 36 spirit, right? This is a very nice amount of damage. That being said, this is an overkill. If this is something that you do if you care if you're gonna kill pinnacle boss in 4 seconds or 5 seconds. This is not something that you do when you want to have some quality of life effect that you will have always on. So for example, if you wanted to not use that at all, or find a better one, because I have all damage shocks and prevents recovery above 50%, the all damage shocks is mandatory, and the other stat, the best stat, would be Haste Aura. If you can find one like that, which is going to take hours by the way, you can use this all the time. As I mentioned while mapping, I don't use that because I confuse it sometimes. I don't know if this is an enemy monster or something like that, so I just don't use it. I don't need that extra damage anyway. But I would use that if this was a boar with Haste Aura. I probably would. So you can use this all the time. But what else you can do is to just drop this completely and instead use like a different support skill, a different aura skill, or just put Herbalism and something else in here for Berserk. It's up to you, really. I think it's worth it for that amount of spirit, especially it's going to be even better if you put a Haste Aura here, because obviously that's going to benefit your totems. That is going to be a pretty substantial amount of attack speed on your totems. That's going to be a pretty substantial amount of damage. But I wouldn't really say that I would use that. Once again, if this is a perfect one with Haste Aura and damage, all damage shocks, then I would use it, but well, it's really up to you. Right? It's pretty decent. And that's it. When it comes to skills, I believe I talked pretty much about everything I wanted. Let's jump into passive tree. And as usual, I'm going to talk about first up, I'm going to talk about the passive tree for both weapon sets, and we're going to talk about weapon set number 1 and weapon set number 2 quickly. Alright. So for all the weapon sets, I'm going to talk about Ascendancy first, I guess. So obviously, hulking form is self-explanatory. The reason why I think totems are the best on Titan is because hulking form, basically, because you get all that increased damage and increased area of effect, which is amazing. Excuse me. Then we get Mysterious Lineage for 50% more maximum life. Self-explanatory here. If you wanted to push life on this character, I'm pretty sure you could reach something about like 4.5k or maybe even 5k if you really wanted to push further. And then Stone Skin for more armor from equipped body armor. I'm not the biggest fan of using this on this build. That being said, there is nothing really useful that you could use besides that. This is only Aftershock for you, so that doesn't work. Crushing blows, not a big deal. So I think that Stone Skin is still going to be better because I actually have decent amount of armor on this build for how little I invested into armor. Right now I have 8,300, and I invested basically these nodes over here. That's it. So that's a solid amount of physical damage reduction, That's not like irrelevant. Even against critical bosses, you're going to drop their damage a little bit with this amount of armor. So I think that this is still, we don't have any other options to begin with, but I think that this is still pretty solid. If you have some armor on your chest piece, then it's still going to be pretty solid. So, all right. So we start over here, intelligence and dexterity. Of course, depending on what your build is, what your gear is, I have a lot of all attributes and intelligence on my amulet, which is something I recommend, by the way. Having all attributes and amulets is amazing. That being said, if you're gonna need less, if you're gonna need less, then you're gonna just drop these and get strength instead. If you're gonna need a little bit more, then you're just gonna get +1 dexterity or +1 intelligence, right? One thing I mentioned is that you actually will need way less dexterity, and you're probably gonna drop all three of these if you don't use the boar. I mean the pet, because the pet is the guy that needs you to get dexterity. Something I didn't mention, by the way, I'm just going to talk about it really quickly, is that your gems over here, your skills are supposed to be low level for Solar Orb, Flammability, and Companion. Because you're just not going to have enough intelligence and dexterity to use them. So Solar Orb, level 5, Flammability, level 7, is totally fine, and then the lowest possible Companion, level 9, which is going to take 72 dexterity to use. Something to keep in mind. Alright, let's just jump into the passive tree finally. So we're just going over here, Brutal, getting these armor nodes. We have to go this way anyway. We have to get to this side of the tree, so this is kind of mandatory anyway. Relentless, then we're getting the regeneration. This is important. Then we're going over here for Battle Hardened. I really love this skill. It gives you a lot of stats. I mean, a lot of stats. 10 stats in total, and armor and critical damage bonus in one notable. That's really good. Then more regeneration. I already mentioned why regeneration is important. And that's it. Pretty much this is where we stopped over here. Then these two nodes on the global tree. Then the fire penetration and fire damage from this cluster. And we just keep on going here. Basically totems, totem cluster, right? If you want to, you can use this one as well, but it's not a big deal. The placement range is like really high anyway on totems. So I don't know. I don't even sure what it does. Because basically where you can put the totems is like, look, it travels pretty much the entire map. The entire screen, should I say. So this placement range is going to... I don't know if I really care about that node, to be honest, but yeah. Then we're going this way. We're going here, just this one point to be able to, use different skills for different weapon sets. Blood Magic, absolutely mandatory. You cannot play this build without it because the mana cost will be absolutely devastating. Going down here, Avatar of Fire. See, absolutely beautiful. Going this way, getting the Jewel Socket, getting these three nodes. If you're struggling with low strength, then you can drop these three nodes and go for these three nodes instead. That's going to be like 40 strength, 42 strength. That's pretty decent. Then Resolute Technique, of course, it's going to work on totems, so it's absolutely mandatory to take. Strength with a little bit of damage, Giant's Blood, of course. Another totem cluster, very mandatory. We're going this way. Smoke Inhalation for a little bit more fire resistance, fire penetration, excuse me. The totems, one more time, and 1 point over here that you're gonna use on weapon set number 1 or 2 for your area setup. Now, when it comes to these nodes, also, I've just like in the previous builds, really, I've been using From Nothing with Unwavering Stance, and all of these nodes, the regeneration nodes, are on both weapon sets. So the same for these nodes, because I decided that even though the distance, I don't have any presence, area of presence. I think they're called area of presence, area of effect. So I don't have any presence area of effect nodes, but you know, your shockwave totems, if a rare monster is going to walk up to you and it's going to be a very tanky rare monster, then this is absolutely devastating damage boost against this rare monster. So I decided that on both weapon sets I'm going to be using these, and I think it's a pretty decent idea, but it's up to you. You could allocate, funnily enough, I have 3 points left over, so you could allocate these on the weapon set number 2, and instead your weapon set number 1 points invest into just the global damage, I guess, like these nodes or something like that, probably. Because there is no more area. I took all the area nodes in the game. You could get this, I guess, something like that, basically, yeah. And for the weapon set number 1, obviously, all the area nodes in the game, you know the drill at this point. We're making freaking warrior build number 11 or something like that, so you know the drill. Area over here. That is weapon set number 1 in summary. And for weapon set number 2, of course, the low life nodes, and then more damage, over here, and that's about it. The weapon set is very simple here, right? I'm going to briefly talk about potential that I didn't, you know, it's not going to be in a guide or anywhere, but I'm going to briefly talk about if you want to play it with the shield setup. When it comes to the shield setup, you would possibly want to, for example, drop these 3 nodes or something, and basically, weapon set number 1, you would want to invest into block nodes over here, and ironically, I think that would be enough. If you had a shield with a very, very high chance to block, then just with this, you would get 26% block chance, and you would be already sitting at like 60% block chance, and that would literally be enough. Of course, you could invest a little bit more, like for example, invest into these nodes over here, and you're block capped after that. And that's literally the only difference you have to do. Because I don't really have any nodes that give you damage with two-handed melee weapons. Now that I reminded myself, this is one of the nodes that will not work on totems. Even if you're wielding two-handed weapons, this is not going to work on totem damage. So, you know, something to keep in mind. So yeah, you're just gonna drop something, you know, maybe even a little bit of area. That's not gonna be a big deal if you're gonna drop these nodes. Invest a little bit into the block over here, and you're done. You're done. You have 75% block chance. It's that easy on Titan. If you're gonna have a shield with a very high block chance, right? And that's about it. I'm gonna talk about jewels. So jewels, I talked about From Nothing already. The other one is going to be Prism of Belief. You absolutely do not need to have that. If you want to, you can have like +2. You can completely drop it, and for example, instead use Prism of Belief with, if you really want to, you can use Prism of Belief with Ancestral Warrior Totem, because it's going to be level 37, so with the Prism of Belief, it's going to be level 40. Another thing you could do is, for example, get more plus skills from other places, like Amulet or Gloves, if you're going to be, like, you know, rich enough to get +1 on Gloves. Corruption. Another thing, you can literally just use a rare jewel. And this rare jewel, well, another thing you could do is, I guess, you could use Against Darkness with fire damage per notable. It's not going to be anything crazy, but it is going to give you, like, you know, 8% extra fire damage, or 6. Yeah, I think it's 8. So you're going to get 8% extra damage as fire damage. It's going to be pretty decent amount of damage still. And you're going to get, like, strength per notable. On top of that, it's going to give, like, 3% strength or something like that. You can also use that. And the other option is obviously a rare jewel. It's going to be fine as well. This is many people, like, told me that, you know, the gear on my characters is too expensive. Some of these things are just to, like, you know, just to see how far the character is going to go. This is not absolutely something that is going to in any way, shape, or form affect how the character is going to feel while mapping. This is basically something that people do if they want to see how far they can push the damage on a character, and if they can kill pinnacle bosses in one hit. This is not something that you have to get. Things like these, if they're expensive, right? Absolutely not something you have to get. That's something to keep in mind. And the last one is Megalomaniac. As always, Megalomaniac is going to be a potentially good Megalomaniac can be like anything, really. I'm not going to say anything, but there's so many good options. What I recommend is getting some fire penetration on Megalomaniac. That's going to free you slots on the passive tree. For example, like with Exposed to Inferno, Cremation is really good. Like even Volcanic Skin would be okay. There's just so many good options. There is penetration over here. Penetration. This one is decent if you want to. There's so many good nodes on the tree. Like it's just basically, as always, with how it goes with Megalomaniac is you just keep on looking at the notables and you type them on the trade and see if they're available, right? And if you see two good notables for your build at the same time, oh, Breath of Fire is another one that is amazing. If you see two good ones that is on the same Megalomaniac, you just buy it and that's it. You're done, right? And that's basically how it goes. All right, now we're gonna talk about get out of here, Pokemon. Now we're gonna talk about items real fast. Maces I pretty much talked about already. But yeah, the name of the game here is +7 to melee skills, and elemental damage with attacks is what you're supposed to get. You pretty much do not care about any other stat apart from the requirements. Just make sure that the requirements is something that you can actually fit. The word is different, but you can entertain the requirements. I don't know. But basically plus level to melee skills and elemental damage with attacks, and just make sure that you can get enough strength for the requirements. That's it. Damage does not matter. One thing that I talked about in my very first video from this build is that you can get something like increased stun build-up, and if you increased stun build-up weapon is going to be on your main weapon, on weapon number 1, then it's actually going to work on your totems. So something to keep in mind. I talked about it, for example, when I was giving you a showcase when I was doing Tidebreaker. If I'm going to, for example, put a Tidebreaker in this weapon slot, then all of a sudden my totems do inherit this 192% increased stun build-up, and all damage from hits with this weapon contributes to chill magnitude. My totems do have that right now. That being said, so basically what that means is my totems stun instantly, and they chill all the enemies they hit, which is actually quite insane when you think about it. But it's something to keep in mind, right? If you'll be looking at the appropriate weapons for your build. So these are the two main stats that you need. The armor, the most basic stuff ever, with resistances, life, and as much armor as you can get is what I decided to go for. There is a very good chance that Warrior Invictus is better. There is a very good chance that Warrior Invictus is going to be even better and probably best in slot after the next patch when they're going to buff items, and they said that Warrior Invictus is going to get buffed. I don't know what the buff is going to be, but it's most likely going to be a pretty decent buff because it's too weak right now. So keep in mind, if you're going to keep on playing this season, then Warrior Invictus next patch is probably going to be best in slot. With what stats exactly, I don't know, because I don't know what they're going to buff, but something to keep in mind. If you want to like ever ask questions or something like that, always the comment section in my Discord and my stream is available. So if you're going to have questions on what unique items you want to use after the patch, because I'm definitely going to check what they changed, then you can go ahead and ask me in those places. Deepest Tower, basic stuff, right? Enemies in your presence count as being on low life. This is what gives you such devastating amount of damage, especially on totems. Because other builds have different ways of scaling damage. Totems do not have that many ways apart from scaling their skill level. So Deepest Tower increases your damage drastically on the totem build. The single target is much higher, period, right? Then Leopold's Applause. These gloves are really amazing. They give you this line over here. Your hits can penetrate elemental resistances down to a minimum of 50%. Someone asked me that doesn't mean that you basically every hit that you do, the enemies will have minus 50% resistance without investing into penetration at all, because these gloves would be the best item in the game probably. That means that you're gonna drop them to up to minus 50% instead of zero with your penetration, but you still need to get that penetration. That being said, I have right now on this build about 60% 60% fire damage, fire resistance reduction from solar orb, from exposure, and from flammability. And on a tree and megalomaniac, I have about 60 something percent, I believe 70% with these gloves, because they're corrupted with damage penetrates 30% of fire resistance as well. I think this is a really good combo, because this combo means that I penetrate every pinnacle boss in this game to minus 50% guaranteed. And on top of that, while mapping, this benefits my totems. So while mapping, I actually drop majority of monsters to that minus 50%, because I still have a lot of regeneration, a lot of penetration, even without Solar Orb and the Curse. So this is a really good combo, and it's just, it makes you deal a lot of damage against both bosses, and it gives you a lot of damage while clearing maps. So this is a really, really good combo, right? Then belt, very simple, strength, life, resistances, as much as you can get. That's literally it. That is literally it, right? A bonus would be to get, instead of physical thorns, to get like, I don't know, life flask recovery rate. There is a mod like this. I think the prefix is something you could do, that is something you can get that would be better, but yeah. Boots, also pretty much the same stuff as before. Resistances, make sure to get some chaos resistance also in one of these equipment pieces. Strength, life, and movement speed, try to get at least 20%. It's not that important, because majority of the time you just move with leap slam. That being said, movement speed is always nice, so it's never bad to have more movement speed. And then rings. Rings are very simple. I have this ring with life, strength, and resistances. The evasion rating is obviously completely useless, and cold damage to attacks actually does a little bit. So very, very high flat damage on your rings. On your weapons is not going to work, but on your rings or your gloves, if you decide to go for rare gloves for some reason, is going to work on your totems. Therefore, this 15 to 23 cold damage to attacks is going to get converted to fire at 75% of its efficiency, and you're going to get that additional fire damage to attacks on your totems. The reason why this, this works, right? But I decided to go for, if you want to get like absolute insane maximum damage setup against pinnacle bosses, is you can get bursting decay and swap it around against pinnacle bosses, because this reads as attacks have added physical damage equal to 3% of maximum life. Basically, if you have 4k life, that it's 120 physical, 220 physical minimum and maximum damage to your totems. So that is the highest damage, ring you can possibly get. I guess now I think about it, if you really wanted to, then this could be beaten by like an insane triple flat damage ring. I think. But something that I've been using is this one. And if you had like two rings like this with triple elemental damage, like T1 lightning, T1 physical, T1 fire, or something like that, that would be insane. That would be pretty insane, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah. What you care about the most here is life, strength, and resistances. And here, literally the same thing: strength, life, resistances. Right? And that's literally it. Amulet is a little bit more important. Because when it comes to amulet, first of all, anointment is burning strikes. I think this is by far the best anointment. Nothing even compares, because you're gonna basically get this amount of damage as fire damage, and that's it, period. You don't care about stuff like Infernal Cry that will reduce its efficiency or something like this. No, you get 12%. So burning strikes is absolutely amazing. And then you want to get accuracy is completely useless here. Evasion is completely useless. So basically, you want to get like increased maximum life, plus possibly 3 to melee skills. Attributes is very important. It's very important to get as many attributes as you can, because Amulet is a great slot where you can get more attributes. And then life regeneration is just a bonus. It's not needed. The most important stats I think here is plus to melee skills, attributes, and try to get as much life as possible. Preferably percent life, because percent life I think is going to be stronger than flat life you can get on an amulet. So yeah. And that's about it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. For more questions, if something is not clear, please feel free to ask me. Feel free to ask in the comments, down in the comments, or on my stream, or join my Discord. Anywhere you want. I'm going to try to answer and read every single one, as always. I said that I'm going to go quickly over my builds. Truth be told, I would give all of my builds this league about like 8 out of 10, because they're not like the most crazy builds like of all time. It's not like Shaolin from last league, and not a single one of these builds are like Shaolin from last league, where I had 50,000 ES, was completely immortal, could tank meteors from Arbiter, and at the same time I was doing like 15 million damage per second, right? Nothing quite reached this level. But for warriors, I think that my builds were really solid. I would pretty much about every single one would get 8 out of 10. So long story short, the answer might be this is disappointing, but that's actually what I believe. That's actually what I think. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Next up, I do believe that this might be the last PoE video for some time, because we're jumping onto the other ship. We're jumping into PoE 1 now, and tomorrow there's a grand reveal. I very much recommend PoE 1 to people that still watch and are, undecided if they want to try PoE 1. PoE 1 is still, in my opinion, the best ARPG I've ever played. I think that PoE 2 can surpass it, but not in early access, right? It will need time. It will need time. It will need development. It will need polish. So PoE 1. I'm really very excited to do it, and I'm definitely going to be making content from it, a lot of content. So in the future you can expect PoE 1, and then of course we're gonna jump back to PoE 2. So I'm not abandoning this game forever, of course not. We're just going to be jumping back and forth probably. So thank you very much for watching, guys. See you next time. Bye bye.